Tonight, Novak Djokovic under fire in a vaccine loophole storm as he signs up to play in the Australian Open. Omicron confirmed in Victoria, 1 case in hotel quarantine, 2 suspected community infections under investigation. China anger as Australia joins a Beijing boycott for the Winter Olympics. Collingwood superfan Joffa set to stand trial on child sex charges. And a first ball dream start for the Ashes.
And he's got him! Unbelievable!
5 wickets for Captain Cummins and England in turmoil.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. The Australian Open is caught in a vaccine standoff after world number 1 Novak Djokovic officially signed on to play in the tournament, possibly under a medical exemption. But the Andrews government has doubled down on its stand, demanding that all players must be vaccinated.
After an 8-month guessing game, Novak Djokovic today officially registered to play in the Australian Open. He could be the only person at the tournament not vaccinated for COVID.
You wouldn't put your name down if you weren't going to come.
The world number 1 plans to play at a tournament in Sydney on New Year's Day before heading to Melbourne. His vaccination status remains unclear, but it's believed he'll apply for an exemption to enter Australia on medical grounds.
Medical exemptions are just that. It's not a loophole for privileged tennis players. It is a medical exemption in exceptional circumstances if you have an acute medical condition.
Make it 9 for Novak!
Any exemption must be certified by an Australian medical practitioner. It would give Djokovic more freedom in Victoria than unvaccinated locals. But taking responsibility for the decision has prompted a fierce blame game rally between federal and state governments.
That's a matter for Victoria.
It's ultimately a Commonwealth decision.
Melbourne GP Dr Joe Gara says it's extremely rare for vaccination exemptions to be granted. Just one of his patients has been found to fit the criteria.
To have a permanent exemption, it's really, really rare. And to have a temporary exemption, you've got to be really, really sick. So I can't see how an elite tennis player could have either of those cases apply.
History beckons for the 9-time Oz Open champion, who's 1 major title away from becoming the greatest Grand Slam winner in men's tennis. Tennis Australia denies it's seeking to exploit loopholes for unvaccinated players.
He's coming under the same regulations that the government set out. Tennis Australia, nobody's trying to do anything special for him to be here.
And Cameron Bowe has breaking news from Melbourne Park and Camp. Serena Williams has just dropped a bombshell.
Well, Mike, arguably the biggest name in women's sport, won't be playing at the Australian Open next month. The official entry list was released late this afternoon. 105 women have registered to play, but Serena Williams is not among them. Her decision is not vaccine related, but it's another blow for the tournament after Roger Federer's decision to give it a miss due to injury, Mike.
OK, Cam, thank you. Omicron has now reached Victoria with 1 case detected in hotel quarantine and 2 suspected community infections under investigation. It means we're the 3rd state to record confirmed cases, but authorities are quietly confident our vaccines will offer protection.
The Omicron variant has landed in Victoria, but there's no need to panic.
Victoria is well prepared to deal with the Omicron variant.
And we are learning more about it every day.
Vaccines are likely to provide strong, clear protection.
Our case is a Norwegian arrival who's been in hotel quarantine, but there are 2 suspected positives in the city of Casey and Brimbank. Their close contacts will isolate for 14 days.
By the time you've hit 7 to 10 days, the chance of being actually contagious has decreased substantially.
Schools are still our biggest hotspots. Templestowe Valley Primary has 67 confirmed cases.
94% of schools, even when there is a positive exposure at the school, they don't close at all.
There were 1,312 cases in Victoria today. New South Wales recorded 403, a 56% jump on yesterday's cases. This Sydney Harbour boat party is their latest concern, with 5 confirmed cases on board. 2 of them could be Omicron. The race is now on to track down 140 partygoers.
We want to suppress the spread of Omicron as much as we can as we move to learn more about it.
And a COVID alert has been issued for the Bathurst 1000. The Prime Minister was there on Sunday. Like everyone else, he'll have to monitor for symptoms. In Queensland, there are 2 confirmed Omicron cases. One of them has a new version of the variant, not seen anywhere else in the world.
We now have Omicron and Omicron-like.
Our mask rules for retail are set to relax in 1 week. The state government says there are no plans to change that for now.
Until we, in fact, actually bring this virus under control globally, we're going to see outbreaks such as Omicron occurring into the future.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
It's been revealed a Preston father died after his family had to wait on hold for 15 minutes before speaking to a 000 operator. It took a further 10 minutes before paramedics arrived to help 47-year-old Nick Panagiotopoulos. The Deputy Premier says major changes have already been made since the tragedy, including hiring 43 extra ESTA call takers. The Inspector General for Emergency Medicine and the coroner are investigating. The 15-year-old girl who was bitten by a shark in Ocean Grove on Monday is said to be doing well. Tiana Athanasiou's parents say she's had surgery to close the gaping wound in her calf. Tiana and her 16-year-old friend Jack were swimming at dusk when what's believed to be a bronze whaler shark attacked in shallow water. The teen will spend another night recovering at Geelong Hospital. Australia is joining an international diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics over human rights abuses in China. Our athletes will still compete, but the Prime Minister has blocked government officials from making the trip.
He wouldn't make an Olympic netball team with shots like this. But this shot at Beijing hits his target.
The Australian government will not be sending any official representatives to the forthcoming Winter Games in China.
Joining an American diplomatic boycott of the Games along with New Zealand.
I'm doing it because it's in Australia's national interest. It's the right thing to do. Full stop.
But a full team of Australian athletes will still go.
Sport is an opportunity to bring the world together, to bring athletes together from around the world. We don't deal in the world of politics.
The diplomatic protests at China's trade embargoes, human rights abuses and concerns over the welfare of tennis player Peng Shuai after she accused a former Chinese vice premier of sexual assault. And for athletes,
the biggest risk for the team is still COVID and the health risks.
Scott Morrison says the diplomatic boycott should come as no surprise, but China's muted response might surprise him. The Canberra Embassy saying just that Australia's decision runs counter to its pronounced expectation to improve relations. Its Foreign Ministry spokesman,
no one would care about whether these people come or not.
The China Daily newspaper's Washington correspondent more pointed, telling US President Joe Biden, hope you will live long enough to see China boycotting Los Angeles Summer Games in 2028. Scott Morrison insisting sport and politics shouldn't mix.
I want to wish all the athletes a very successful Games.
Hoping they can score some goals. Mark Riley, 7 News.
And the Prime Minister is backing Hobart to host the 5th Ashes Test over the MCG. Cricket Australia has sparked a bidding war for the Test after Perth lost its right to host the match.
As for the 5th Test, I'm in the Tassie camp. I think it'll be great to see Tasmania share in this Ashes series.
A decision is expected to be made in the next few days. Serial conman Peter Foster has faced a Melbourne court dressed in a medical gown after his arrest in the Macedon Ranges. He'll be extradited to Queensland on Saturday over fraud charges linked to a multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency scam.
Peter Foster's farm life abruptly ends after 6 months on the run. He appeared via video link for his extradition hearing barefoot in a blue hospital gown. Police said he was living comfortably on a property near Gisborne in country Victoria. Today he advised his lawyer he wouldn't resist a change of scenery. "I'm not opposing the order. As a proud Queenslander, I want to go home." Foster did express concern over how Queensland Police had handled his case, describing his arrest on a Port Douglas beach last year as brutal. The 59-year-old failed to appear at a Sydney court in May. At the same time, an electronic device he was wearing as a bail condition stopped sending a signal. Queensland Police issued a warrant for his arrest over a $2 million Bitcoin fraud. Despite repeated pleas from his lawyer not to vent his frustrations to the magistrate, Peter Foster insisted on having his say, calling the charges against him flawed and claiming he was kept in custody for 7 months unlawfully. Foster will be handed over to Queensland Police on Saturday. He'll face the Brisbane Magistrates Court on December 13. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
A father critically injured in a tragic crash on the Calder Freeway is now in a serious condition after improving overnight. His 37-year-old partner's condition is listed as serious but stable. The couple's 2-year-old daughter was killed when a truck hit their Volkswagen in a horror pile-up at Diggers Rest. A man's been charged with murder over a fatal fight at a hotel in Melbourne's north. A Thomastown man suffered lower body injuries and couldn't be saved. His alleged killer was taken to hospital with head injuries. And a 43-year-old man has also been charged with murder over the death of a 40-year-old woman near Wangaratta. The US has issued a new threat to Russia, warning there'll be economic sanctions if it invades Ukraine. Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin spent 2 hours discussing the growing military crisis in a phone call described by both sides as tense.
Vladimir Putin filled the silence as he waited for Joe Biden to unmute his microphone.
There you go. Hello.
A 2-hour meeting, cordial for the cameras.
Last time we didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
From the Situation Room, a high-stakes dial-in to Putin's holiday home in Sochi as his troops gather on the border. Ukraine claiming Russia's now reinforcing its position with heavy artillery and snipers.
It will be a really bloody massacre. And Russian guys also will come back in the coffins.
Joe Biden warning Putin of strong economic and other measures if Russia invaded.
He's not doing this to saber rattle. He's not doing it to make idle threats. He's doing it to be clear and direct.
Putin insists he has no intention of launching an attack but wants assurances Ukraine won't join the Western NATO alliance. President Biden spoke today with European allies and has a call planned Thursday with Ukraine's president. Back home, he's facing political pressure from opponents who say that chaotic withdrawal in Afghanistan emboldened adversaries like Russia.
Joe Biden is projecting weakness on the world stage.
Another test of his presidency with the security and sovereignty of a US ally on the line. In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Exiled footy champion James Hird could be on the verge of a return to the AFL. Chief football reporter Tom Brown has the exclusive details. And Tom, Hird is weighing up a job offer.
Mike, James Hird has been lost to football now for the best part of 6 years. The Greater Western Sydney Giants want to end that. Giants bosses have reached out to Hird and had conversations with him in recent weeks about a mentoring and leadership role. Nothing's locked down. It could be a small role, could be a big role. It might involve, for example, just speaking to the leadership group a couple of times. Conversations are ongoing. But football-wise, a lot of industry people I talk to think that Hird had the attributes to be a premiership coach. It's a shame he's not involved. This would be a good way to dip his toes back in the water. He's got his fingers at the moment in a lot of commercial pies. He makes regular trips at the moment between Melbourne and New York, where he runs a hedge fund and a consultancy, and obviously here in Melbourne, Mike. OK, Tom Brown, thank you. Australia's Ashes campaign is off to a flying start, dominating England from the first ball of the series. It was a dream day for new captain Pat Cummins, taking 5 wickets as the touring team was bowled out for just 147 runs.
It's been an Ashes build-up marked by COVID concerns and off-field controversy, but with the very first ball, the series burst into life. A sellout Gabba exploding with noise. The summer has arrived and we have cricket.
First ball, first wicket, it's a good start for the Aussies.
Unfortunately, I was at the bar getting a beer, so I didn't even see it, so I still haven't seen it yet.
He didn't have to wait long to see another.
Australia have made a dream start.
The old enemy taking a beating on field, but still holding their own in the stands. International border closures couldn't hold back this army or their queen. A call out to English expats, keeping the tradition of the travelling Barmy Army tour party alive.
We've been waiting 4 years for this, so win or lose, we're happy to be here.
They were dressed for the occasion with colourful outfits and language to match.
Ask him what the story is.
And provided a backing track. So they could sing, but had little to cheer. The Aussies taking the honours.
Great start by the Australians, so yeah, everything's fantastic.
Controversially, Brisbane had its first test hosting rights snatched off them last year. But this summer, Cricket Australia has returned the slot to its traditional place, meaning that the series kickstarts here at the Gabba, and on early results, it definitely looks like the right decision.
It's always been a happy hunting ground for the Australian team, and it was a perfect way to start the summer.
Not even a summer storm could ruin this day one delight. Joel Dry, 7 News.
And Tim Watson, Pat Cummins couldn't have scripted this any better.
Yes, Mike, the perfect start for the new skipper who broke new records, becoming just the first Australian to take 5 wickets in his first innings as Test captain. We'll have all the highlights coming up. Also, a Cats defender reveals the ballet techniques that got him back on track. A grand vision on a landmark day for women's footy. And, Mike, we've got new details too on Jordan De Goe's road back to Collingwood. I'll see you again soon.
OK, see you soon. Thanks, Tim. Collingwood superfan Joffa Korf has faced court on sex charges. Details live next on 7 News. Plus, how the biggest battery in the Southern Hemisphere is helping prevent summer blackouts in Melbourne. See the secret video that puts Boris Johnson in the firing line. Aussie stars hit the red carpet to celebrate the best TV shows and movies. And later, the toys you should be avoiding for Christmas. Collingwood superfan Jeff Joffa Korf has been committed to stand trial over child sex accusations. Emma O'Sullivan has tonight's developments, and he's accused of sexually abusing a teenage boy.
Mike, Jeffrey Korf has pleaded not guilty to 2 child sex abuse charges. Police will allege that both offences happened on the same day 16 years ago at Joffa's home, then in Coburg. Documents tendered in court reveal that the alleged victim came forward last year, and he told police he'd been communicating with the then 45-year-old via MSN Messenger and email before a meeting at the Coburg property. Joffa was in Melbourne for his one-day committal hearing. The court was closed for a couple of hours while the magistrate heard from the alleged victim. He then heard from one of the complainant's friends and the police informant before deciding that there was sufficient evidence to send the case on to the county court for trial. The 61-year-old's bail was extended and he must face court again in January. Mike?
Emma O'Sullivan, thank you. The biggest battery in the Southern Hemisphere has been switched on southwest of Melbourne. Victorians are being promised it will lead to cheaper power bills and eliminate unplanned blackouts this summer.
Once a rural field near Geelong, now home to the biggest battery in the Southern Hemisphere, officially supplying power to the grid.
It goes faster than it takes you time to blink your eyes.
The Victorian Big Battery can reserve enough energy to power more than 1 million homes for half an hour.
One of the mega-pack batteries caught fire during construction in July, burning for days, but it's back on track. Developer Neon says Victorians should have full trust in the 300-megawatt Tesla battery.
I think we have all the confidence that what happened in end of July won't happen again.
The battery will help lower Victorians' power bills.
Residential customers can save in the tens of dollars each and every year. Businesses, depending on the size and the consumption of their of electricity, they can save in the tens of thousands of dollars.
With summers getting longer and hotter, the old coal-fired generators are becoming increasingly strained. This battery will help alleviate that on those hot days when we're using more power.
With climate change resulting in hot summers, the need to safeguard our energy system has never been more important.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Boris Johnson is under increasing pressure, accused of covering up an illegal 2020 Christmas party. New video has emerged of his staff joking about a gathering at Downing Street that would have breached strict COVID regulations.
A leaked video showing a mock Downing Street press conference allowing Boris Johnson's spokeswoman to practice fielding questions, including this one.
I've just seen reports on Twitter that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home. This fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced.
That was last year when Britain was in the grips of a deadly COVID wave. But inside Downing Street there was reportedly cheese and wine, games, Christmas jumpers and Secret Santa, all consistently shrugged off by Boris Johnson and his ministers for a week.
All guidance was followed completely during number 10.
What the government has got itself into a mess is a classic mess by denying they have actually created more problems for themselves. You know, to quote, what you often hear on these occasions, it's the cover-up that gets you.
Boris Johnson's own MPs are said to be livid from opposition parties.
He should go, and he should go now. He's not fit to be Prime Minister of these islands.
On primetime TV.
Evening, Prime Minister! For now.
At the time of the alleged party, indoor socialising was banned here. Work Christmas parties explicitly so. And just a week later, many Britons would spend Christmas alone after Boris Johnson further tightened restrictions, effectively cancelling the holiday. Police now reviewing this. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
It was not socially distant.
The red carpet's been rolled out for Australia's acting royalty for the 10th Annual Actor Awards. Tonight's event has attracted plenty of big names. Eric Bana up for Best Actor for The Dry. Simon Baker nominated for his lead role in High Ground, and supporting actress nominee Rachel Griffiths. Rebel Wilson flew in from LA on Monday. It's understood she was granted an exemption from quarantine to attend the ceremony. Melina Saris joins us now. Mel, after a mostly dry day, showers are developing this evening.
Mike, we are keeping our eye on the radar and warnings have been issued for some parts of the state. East Gippsland is under a severe weather warning for heavy rainfall. Rain begins tonight, with heavier falls expected tomorrow and on Friday. While Gippsland and the northeast are on flood watch, other parts of the state are about to enter a warm and sunny stretch. I'll have all of those details right after sport, Mike.
OK, thanks, Mel. Melbourne is running out of land for new homes. Up next, the outer suburbs in demand as the city faces a real estate squeeze. Plus, a Docklands rooftop becomes a farm in the sky. A baby miracle found alive in the rubble under a collapsed building. And how these top Victorians have made their mark on our great state. Hundreds of vulnerable young people struggling with their mental health will now get professional help delivered to their door. $16 million will be spent on mobile outreach units that can travel anywhere across the state.
Taking mental health services to young people at school, at university, in community facilities, at home, in the local park.
It's expected to help an extra 560 Victorians every year. A group of anti-vaxxers has filmed themselves screaming at Salvation Army workers in the CBD. The group, led by actor Damien Richardson, was protesting against unvaccinated people not being allowed into the Burke Street op shop.
Not welcome. That's what it says. That's your sign. You can read it.
They offer it. Come and have dinner with us. Sleep with us out here on the street.
The Salvation Army says people in need can come for food and to buy toys regardless of vaccination status. Buyers hunting for a bargain are snapping up all available land in Melbourne's sprawling suburbs. It's a trend that's predicted to continue for another decade, raising concerns that infrastructure can't keep up.
Soaring property prices are making Melbourne's outskirts more attractive than ever. This time last year, there was an abundance of land to buy, but now real estate agents are scrambling to keep up.
The demand in the area is very high. We've got a lot of people coming in from inner Melbourne coming out to Melton. I think auctions have tripled since this time last year.
Sandy Grant Taylor just bought this 3-bedroom home in Melbourne West as an investment. He opted for the outer suburbs because it's affordable and is planning to purchase another home in the same area to live in later on.
With the market going the way it was just, I knew that the longer I waited, the crazier it was going to get.
While the property boom is across the board, the shift in Victorians working from home and ditching the daily commute has supercharged the demand for the outer suburbs. Cranbourne East, Melton South and even as far afield as Huntly are all tipped to soar in 2022. The spike largely being driven by millennials and young families searching for bigger, cheaper homes. But there's concern some suburbs, particularly in the west, will struggle to stay connected with enough schools, roads and public transport options.
We are failing to build enough infrastructure connecting the outer suburbs to the CBD. We are building problems.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
The Prime Minister has slammed rogue backbencher George Christensen over an appearance he made on a right-wing American conspiracy program. Scott Morrison says he was appalled. The Nationals MP laughed when the host compared Nazi concentration camps to Australian quarantine facilities.
I think George should quietly go into retirement.
Mr Christensen will not run at the next election. A mother and her 10-month-old baby have been rescued from the rubble of a collapsed building in southern France. Sniffer dogs helped find the baby before workers dug through piles of debris. The child's father died at the scene while another 2 people are still missing. It's believed a gas explosion caused the 3-storey apartment building to collapse. A pedestrian's had an incredibly close call crossing the road in Russia. The man was getting out of a vehicle before making a quick dash almost into the path of a bus travelling at speed. Luckily, he noticed and fell back just in time. Top Victorians have been honoured at a special service at Government House. They include a tennis star, a Northern Suburbs community leader, a university leader and a Malakuta bushfire hero.
Our top Victorians finally getting together at Government House after COVID put celebrations on hold.
I'd never really considered anything I've done to be extraordinary. I just did what I did for the community.
Grand Slam champion Dylan Alcott says it's not all about winning.
My real purpose is changing perception so people with disability, people like me, can get out and live the lives they deserve.
All of Victoria's Australian of the Year recipients are fighting for inclusion.
Multicultural communities always need a voice. They need to be sitting on the table.
We know that when people have those barriers and disadvantage removed, we get closer to equality.
Our local hero wants to shine a light on Malakuta's bushfire recovery efforts.
Volunteering, particularly for small regional communities, is the backbone. It's the fabric that holds the community together.
The 4 Victorian recipients will now vie for the national honour, with the winners from each category and the Australian of the Year to be announced in Canberra on Australia Day Eve. They're up against basketball star Paddy Mills and Sue and Lloyd Clark, who founded Small Steps for Hannah after the death of their daughter. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
A rooftop car park in Docklands is being transformed into a farm. Workers are busy planting vegetables for what will become a function space, education centre and cafe.
Come up here and have a meal, have a drink, go for a wander through the rooftop, buy plants in the rooftop nursery.
This project, we hope, is not a one-off, it's a first off, and that it can be replicated on rooftops across Melbourne.
It opens to the public in about 12 months. Moreland has won the high-profile backing for a controversial move to change its name. Details next on 7 News. Plus, the toys parents are being warned to avoid for Christmas. And Australia targeting a homegrown cryptocurrency to give us a new way to pay. Moreland Council has been given the green light to change its name. A group of residents alerted the mayor to its links to a property in Jamaica involved in the global slave trade in the 18th century. The state government has now thrown its weight behind the move. Locals and Aboriginal leaders will be consulted about options for the new name next year. Australia could release its own cryptocurrency to rival Bitcoin to wrestle back control of emerging financial systems. The federal government's proposing new laws to protect consumers, with more than half of Australians now using their phones for payments.
We're in the midst of a digital payment revolution.
Cash credit or Afterpay?
What's Afterpay? Buy now, pay later.
Bitcoin, the best money we've ever had.
Checks are long gone, even cash is in decline. $650 billion of non-cash payments are made in Australia every day. 800,000 Australians have some form of cryptocurrency. 5 million have a buy now, pay later account.
It's convenience. Everybody has a phone now, and that's the way everyone wants to pay.
But our regulatory framework, the laws that protect customers, has not caught up to the digital age.
Indeed, it hasn't changed very much in the last 25 years.
At a speech in Melbourne, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg announced the start of what will be a revamp of the legal system to ensure these companies follow local rules and don't take advantage of the growing market.
Australia makes the rules, not Silicon Valley.
Australia could also have its own central digital currency backed by the Reserve Bank.
Australia would be one of the first globally to take such action.
Legislation is being drawn up and consultation planned for next year. Federal Labor supports the move in principle, but says it's taking too long.
It's another announcement about a future announcement. We've had 3 reviews already in this space. I think we need to get cracking.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Australia Post is setting new deadlines in the countdown to Christmas. If you want your parcel to arrive by December 25, you need to send it by this coming Monday, December 13. The cut-off date to send packages to Western Australia and the Northern Territory is today. It was a strong day on the share market, the ASX 200 closing 91 points up. The big miners made major gains. One stock of the day, buy now, pay later company Zip shares up by more than 10%. And on the currency market, one Australian dollar is buying 71.27 US cents. There's a warning tonight about Christmas presents that appear harmless but can turn deadly in an instant. Most are cheap imports, and inspectors have been raiding retailers to keep them away from children.
Toy testers pounce on pop-up shops.
Good, how are you? I'm Karen, I'm fair trading.
Fair trading officers have launched Operation Safe Toy.
That one seems okay.
Stripping shelves of hundreds of Christmas presents, simply too dangerous for our littlest consumers.
That can cause obstruction and children can die if they don't get medical attention.
Secret warehouses raided and dodgy toys seized.
They come in container loads from overseas. They're mass produced, they're not made properly.
They can strangle, choke, injure and even burn with small or brittle parts and button batteries that can be easily accessed.
So the child can just flip open the battery compartment, swallow the battery.
Miserably failing to meet Australian standards. Over the next few weeks, no stone will be left unturned.
So you're looking at receipts book, checkbooks.
Under Australian consumer law, if you're caught selling unsafe toys, you can be fined up to $500,000. Corporations can be fined up to $10 million.
While Fair Trading's focus today is on pop-up stands and stores, more than 70% of complaints from consumers are about toys bought online.
You have the right to your money back. As for dodgy dealers,
we know who they are, we are shutting them down.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
A discovery on a beach in Melbourne's southeast is revealing secrets from Australia's past. A fossil of a 5 million-year-old turtle has scientists excited. We'll explain why Beaumaris is the perfect place for fossil hunters. That's coming up a little later in the bulletin. Tim Watson returns with sport, and Tim, the Aussies took the Ashes by storm at the Gabba.
They did, Mike. A blistering attack has stunned England on day one, and it was Mitchell Starc who silenced his critics with the first ball of the day. All the highlights next. Plus, why we might have already seen the catch of the summer in the Big Bash. Breaking details on Jordan De Goey's long road back to redemption at Collingwood, and Jake Lever back at it for the D's as Tom Stewart reveals why ballet is on his mind. Welcome back. It's been a dream opening day to the Ashes for the Aussies at the Gabba. Mitchell Starc struck with the first ball of the innings. A new captain, Pat Cummins, starred with 5 for 38, leaving England on the ropes early.
Tradition restored, Fortress Gabba and all the pomp of an Ashes day one.
In the Barcelona moment, Alex Carey will never forget. Our 34th Test keeper, but he won't be facing Broader Anderson, missing for the first time in 5 years. On a Gabba green top, Australia's new skipper was asked to bowl.
We're probably going to have a bat, but I think it's 50-50 here. I don't think it really matters.
Yes, it did. The maligned Stark first ball.
And he's got him! Unbelievable!
Rory Burns joins fellow Englishman Stan Worthington, who 85 years earlier suffered the same ignominy. It got worse. Hazelwood wears a menacing grin day one at the Gabba.
Alex Carey has his first Test catch.
Milan exited for 6. The skipper lasted just 9 balls.
Hazelwood has a second.
3 for 11. Weekend ticket holders were edgy. Smoko was extended with good reason. The new captain joined the fun.
Another edge and gone.
Stokes out for 5, 4 for 29, then 5 for 60 when Cummins got Hamid, Britannia sinking fast. Her Majesty remained optimistic, so too a rowdy army, but the theatrics were premature.
And Mitchell Stark gets his second.
Butler gone, Pope followed quickly, another milestone passed.
It's a first Test wicket for Cameron Green.
He can thank the athletic Hazelwood. 4:10 a.m. in London, setting the alarm was barely worth it. All that remained, could the new skipper get 5 for?
Another brilliant catch from Josh Hazelwood.
His first against England, Hulru leaving 2 quicks, boasting 1,156 Test wickets to carry the drinks. They could stew on that during a summer storm. Pat Welch, 7 News.
And to wrap up the day's action from the Gabba, we spoke with former Test opener and 7 commentator Matthew Hayden.
Yeah, thank you. What a start for Australia, and particularly our skipper. Can we please talk about how outstanding Pat Cummins was?
Yeah, what a great day. I mean, not only are you donning the baggy green, but you're donning it for the first time as captain. You lose the toss, and then the wickets just kept on tumbling, didn't they? And, of course, Pat then parachutes in for a 5 for himself as well. So, no, fantastic to dismiss England inside, the first couple of sessions of play. 147, magnificent start.
As for England's form and that pitch out there, were we predicting just quite that?
Yeah, it's always hard to sort of judge, I think, the first day of the Gabba, because for mine it was always a green top. We've had lots of weather up here in Brisbane, and it's got the capacity to take lots of wickets. And I think that first ball, just setting that up with Stark's dismissal of Burns, that's just meant that momentum was in Australia's favour.
Absolutely. Let's hope that momentum continues into tomorrow. You can catch all of that action on the channels of 7.
Still on cricket, and the Melbourne Stars have pulled off a signing coup, luring West Indian star Andre Russell, who'll be in town by Friday. Meanwhile, Jake Fraser-McCurk may have already pulled off the catch of the summer.
It's a long summer, that's for sure. You can expect a few better catches, I reckon.
It sparked the Gades into action, beating the Strikers in their season opener by just 2 runs. Troubled Pies star Jordan De Goey faces a tough road back to the Collingwood Football Club. Mitch Cleary has fresh details tonight. And Mitch, this comes even if De Goey is cleared by a New York court.
Tim De Goey will face court via video link in just over 4 hours. Since arriving back in Melbourne, he's had separate meetings with coach Craig McRae, plus Chief Executive Mark Anderson and Head of Football Graham Wright, where he was told he won't return to the club immediately, even if his hearing tonight goes favourably, instead facing a multi-layered process, including education protocols to prove he's won back the trust of the club. Meantime, a Geelong gun defender has returned to the track. Running for 10 weeks, there's been no holding Tom Stewart back this off-season.
Probably only 1 session in 50 that I've pulled up sore from, so in terms of my preparation and the way I'm feeling, I'm super confident that I've done the work now.
His nasty Liz Frank foot injury a thing of the past after work with renowned ballet physio Sue Mays.
I've really liaised well with her and she's given me massive confidence throughout the rehab process.
At Arden Street, senior North Melbourne players, including recruit Hugh Greenwood, were put to work as number 1 pick Jason Horne-Francis relaxed with draftees on the Mornington Peninsula.
There's not an arrogance in there, it's just that confidence that he knows his capabilities.
Premiership defender Jake Lever back at Melbourne.
Work, Harrison! Yellow ball!
48 hours after fainting on day one of summer training. And the AFL has announced 6 new jobs across clubs to fast-track women into coaching.
We know women can coach. They need to be afforded the opportunity.
Unveiling its 10-year vision, the AFL want women to fill half of the 18 senior AFLW coaching positions by 2030, up from none in 2022. Women to have the same community participants as men, and AFLW players to be the highest paid domestic athletes, a mantle currently owned by netball at more than $70,000 per year.
We probably never thought it was going to be a thing that women's football would be, full-time in a holistic approach. So I look at them and I'm smiling like you girls have got big futures ahead of you.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Ash Barty will head into the Australian summer full of confidence, named the WTA Player of the Year. It's the second time the world number one has claimed the award after winning 5 titles this year, including Wimbledon, which was her second major. Melbourne United star recruit Matthew Dellavedova says he's up for the fight in his first clash with crosstown rival South East Melbourne Phoenix on Sunday.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be intense, physical battle. They got us in the pre-season game the other day, so, we need to get this one on Sunday.
It's Delhi's first game in Melbourne since returning to the NBL, and the cricket doesn't stop on 7. Tonight it's a Big Bash doubleheader starting with the Hurricanes and Sixers, followed by the Scorchers and the Heat. Just need the rain to stay away up in Brisbane tomorrow.
I can never get too much cricket. Thanks, Tim. Melina is next with the forecast of Mel. Summer weather is on the way.
It is, Mike. We have one more showery day before our warm and sunny stretch begins. I'll have all of those details right after the break.
Clicking your way to massive savings at the Bowser in the supermarket. The quick way to find the best deals on Sunrise tomorrow.
It's been cloudy, wet and unusually cold, but it will start to warm up as we head towards the weekend. The city only made it to 17 today after a low of 10 degrees outside, now sitting on 16. A deep trough extends into northeastern Victoria while a high-pressure ridge stretches across our south. A low will develop off the New South Wales coast. It'll linger near East Gippsland over the coming days, eventually moving away into the Tasman Sea on Saturdays. There are concerns that'll bring heavy rainfall to some parts of the state. From Thursday to Saturday, our 3-day totals of between 100 and 200 millimetres are forecast for East Gippsland. The Snowy and Tambo River catchments could see up to 120 millimetres. Checking our capitals for tomorrow, a shower or two and a possible storm for Brisbane, 32. A few showers in Sydney, partly cloudy in Adelaide and Hobart. But in Victoria, we'll have scattered showers throughout central parts, tending to rain in Gippsland with those possible heavy falls. It'll be another cool to mild day with fresh south to southeasterly winds. They'll start to pick up tonight and will remain strong about the ranges. A severe weather warning is in place for East Gippsland here for heavy rainfall beginning tonight. That could lead to major flooding over the next few days. So a flood watch has been issued for East Gippsland, the northeast and also the Werribee River catchment. Closer in, it'll be cloudy and windy over the suburbs. Showers are expected during tomorrow morning, mostly easing during the afternoon. Top temperatures are mostly in the high teens. A shower or two in the city tomorrow and it is windy. 12 overnight with a top of 19. But now this is our nicest forecast in quite a while. Friday is partly cloudy, 20, 23 on Saturday, mostly sunny, 26 on Sunday, 33 partly cloudy on Monday, 22 degrees on Tuesday, but it's staying dry. And Wednesday is mostly sunny, 29 degrees, but windy with a shower or two tomorrow, 19 before our summery stretch begins, Mike.
Bring it on, I say. Thanks, Mel. A 5 million-year-old fossil found at a Melbourne beach is raising new questions about evolution in Australia. It was discovered 100 years ago at Beaumaris and stayed hidden until now.
This tiny fossil rewrites the history of an entire species.
5 million years old and all the way in Melbourne, so in completely the wrong place.
Found at Beaumaris Beach 100 years ago, hidden away at Melbourne Museum until a young paleontologist took an interest.
It's just absolutely amazing to finally be able to share this work.
Scientists thought pig-nosed turtles evolved in the Northern Hemisphere and only travelled to Northern Australia a few thousand years ago. That's now up for debate.
It's extraordinary. James's little bit of puzzle piece adds that knowledge to a broader spectrum of evolution as we know it today.
It's not the first significant find in these waters. In 2016, an amateur fossil hunter found a 5 million year old whale tooth.
New finds are being made every single week down in Bayside that are changing the way in which we view the evolution of entire groups of animals.
The perfect spot for fossil hunters, both amateur and professional, to find their own piece of history.
As long as there are fossils in the rocks, there will be fossils rooting out onto the beach for people to find.
Rachel Ward, 7 News.
And that's 7 News to now. We'll have updates later. For now, from the 7 News team, have a good night.